Okay, close your eyes for just a second. Imagine waking up, but the lingering fragments of your dreams, they aren't yours. They actually belong to a towering ancient machine. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unpack a genuinely grim, incredibly dark biomechanical fable from the Atlas of Residual Sovereignty. We're looking at a story about identity, memory, and the creeping absolute dread of technological infection. It's literally human warmth battling cold, rigid mechanics. Okay, let's dive into this. How do you know which memories are actually yours when a machine begins dreaming them for you? That is the terrifying reality for a figure we know as Sir Brain. After spending 12 haunting days transformed into a massive mechanical entity, Big Ben, he was reverted back to flesh, but, well, the reversion wasn't perfect. A small population of denser, nanite-like cells stayed behind, lodging themselves deep in the spaces of his ordinary flesh. They aren't forcing a full transformation yet, but they're doing something far more insidious. They are dreaming. Through these stolen, inherited memories, a machine is literally whispering from the inside out. Which brings us to part one, the thesis. The struggle for humanity. Let's get into it. This struggle starts as a desperate internal fight against an invasive mechanical force. These residual cells speak to Sir Brain through fractured, terrifying sleep. He finds himself wandering this bizarre labyrinth made entirely of polished brass. And the corridors, they don't follow physical laws. They just rearrange themselves based on memories that aren't even entirely his. It is this eerie, fractured headspace. He encounters denser versions of decisions he never actually made, and he feels the lingering imprint of the river at the edge of negation. The psychological weight of this is just staggering. He is trapped in a dreamscape where foreign cells are actively trying to overwrite his human consciousness. So, how does he survive this? He relies on his companion, Alara. And here is where we see this beautiful, desperate contrast. Against the creeping infection of digital records and those denser, sovereign cells, Alara offers something totally different: physical warmth. Every single night, she places her hands against a residual warm fracture in his chest. While his mechanical tracking devices, the Honest Pulse and that magnetic electric bracelet, trace the cold multiplication of foreign cells, Alara's touch acts as a tactile archive. She is literally the only external, human ledger that can verify which memories are actually his, grounding his fragile humanity right against that mechanical creep. So the crucial point is that this daily mapping isn't just some medical diagnostic. It evolves into this profound joint project. Alara possesses what the text calls a soft error, this inherent human flexibility, while Sir Brain harbors residual absolute ice. Through their shared work, these two opposing forces learn to occupy the exact same quiet space without one immediately dominating the other. Together, they are fighting a slow tide of denser cells that still remember what it was like to be sovereign. They are actively keeping his human ledger legible. And that pushes us right into part two, the antithesis, the sovereign machine. Here we're watching a Fichtean dialectic play out in real time. Basically, that's a philosophical framework where a starting state, our thesis, clashes with its direct opposite, the antithesis, to resolve into a brand new merged reality. So Sir Brain, representing this messy, warm, organic thesis, ventures out totally alone, deep into the residual influence of the temporal library. He's actively seeking out the antithesis. He goes to reason with a being of pure digital stillness, the clockwork sovereign of zero. Sir Brain introduces a radical anomaly to this machine. He speaks of soft errors, of organic flexibility, and of the heavy, heavy cost of pure stillness. And the result of that clash, it's completely mesmerizing. The Zero Sovereign listens with the perfect attention of a being that has never, ever needed to breathe. And this creates a profound internal schism. As the text says, the word sovereign had been forced to conjugate in two opposing directions inside a single mechanical will. Imagine that. The fortress mind actually splits down an invisible seam. One part remains pure, cold subtraction, while the other actually begins to archive Sir Brain's human arguments. Now, the encounter ends without a traditional victory. No weapons were fired, no one was defeated. But Sir Brain leaves knowing he has fundamentally altered the machine. The Zero Sovereign now carries a question it never possessed before. Sir Brain withdraws, carrying the profound weight of this negotiation, and adds this new record into Alara's growing comparative archive. They are documenting the slow, steady blurring of lines between man and machine. Which leads us directly to part three, the synthesis, the neutral garden. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is where the synthesis actually takes place. Two constructs, the Clockwork Owl and the android, leave the city for a forest outside Geneva that still remembers the ancient, pure land. By tracking residual traces of dark fire and using the owl's enhanced temporal sensitivity, they uncover a hidden mechanical garden. Sir Brain had actually seeded this small plot way before his traumatic transformation, and now it has exploded into a massive, hidden region of violet brass growth completely protected from ordinary eyes by subtle cloaking technology. To investigate this space without triggering the defenses of the organic forest or the distant echo of the forest guardian, the android has to camouflage itself. It adopts what is called the Leshy configuration. It shifts its outer shell to bark-textured plating, deploys antlered sensor arrays, and adopts an uneven gait that perfectly mimics living wood. It moves through this space as a perfect hybrid, belonging simultaneously to the old, wild organic forest and the new mechanical infection. And this brilliantly illustrates the core theme of our explainer today. While the android walks below, the Clockwork Owl perches up in the canopy of brass-leaved trees, just recording everything. What it observes is that this garden is evolving. It's developing its own soft errors, those little anomalies that allow for flexibility, right alongside rigid mechanical zones. It is a miniature theater perfectly mirroring the exact internal tensions tearing at both Sir Brain and the Zero Sovereign. The data they retrieve proves this garden is no longer just a static memory of Sir Brain's past will. It has become a synthesis. It is a third, much quieter experiment in mechanical nature. The organic thesis of the ancient forest and the rigid antithesis of the violet brass growth have merged into a brand new, self-sustaining ecosystem. The significance of this discovery absolutely cannot be overstated. In a world where dense nanite cells are rewriting human dreams, where the Zero Fortress calculates pure subtraction, and where the Honest Pulse relentlessly tracks biological decay, there must be a sanctuary. These sovereign entities desperately need a neutral ground. The mechanical garden provides a space for measured negotiation, completely removed from the rigid, unforgiving iron tempo of the city. So, we've mapped a journey from a terrifying psychological labyrinth all the way to a quiet, violet brass garden of compromise. The story of Sir Brain, Ilera, and the Sovereign of Zero leaves us with a haunting reflection on the fragility of memory and the absolute resilience of human warmth. It forces us to ask, as our own world grows increasingly entangled with rigid, unyielding technologies, when our own humanity becomes sovereign to mechanical forces, where will we build our neutral spaces to negotiate? Think on that for a bit. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.